More details, srnnews.com.
3 years ago, I wrapped up a run of Annie playing Daddy Warbucks with the South Carolina Children's Theater. I was about 40, 50 pounds overweight, tired, sick, fed up with the way I felt. Hi, it's Mike Gallagher. I had to do something. I scheduled my weight loss consultation with PhD Weight Loss and Nutrition. And as they say, the rest is history. Just a few months, I lost over 50 pounds. I took control of my health. 3 years later, I've kept the weight off and I feel better than ever. If you are where I was, do what I did. Call PhD Weight Loss and Nutrition. It'll change your life. It's fast and simple. They won't let you fail. Just give them a call at 855-696-2020 to schedule your weight loss consultation. That's 855-696-2020. 855-696-2020. Here's the best part. First 11 callers who mention the keyword healthy will get 2 free weeks added to their weight loss package. Don't wait. Call today. 855-696-2020. Mention healthy to get 2 free weeks or visit them at myphdweightloss.com, myphdweightloss.com.
The following program is a paid advertisement and does not necessarily represent the views, opinions, or endorsements of Signal Hill Media Partners, its affiliate stations, or its advertisers.
Say what you want.
Welcome to We're Just Sayin' with Senator Vickie Sawyer and co-host David Coble. Join them each week as they provide the latest updates on legislation affecting North Carolina, from breaking down key bills to answering your live call-in questions. Senator Sawyer and David engage in meaningful conversations on the issues that matter most to our state. No matter your political affiliation, We're Just Sayin' keeps you informed and involved in the efforts to make North Carolina a better place for everyone. Welcome to the conversation.
And welcome today to We're Just Saying. And special guest host once again, Gene Haupt.
Hey, nice to have me. Thanks for having me. Senator Sawyer called me. She's unavailable today. Want to wish her, her and David a happy weekend. She calls me, Billy, every time she needs the ratings to go up. You know,
it must be that
because
you.
I'm more, she says I'm more controversial than her, so people will listen to see if I mean to anybody or whatever.
That's right.
You know?
Well, it's either you or Sheriff Darren Campbell,
right?
And obviously, we can see
I'm sure he would pick the ratings up more than I would. But I'm glad to be here on July 18th and for Senator Sawyer and David Coble, and wish everybody a wonderful weekend on their behalf as well. But today, I want to talk.
Before we do that, though, I want everybody to know, because we have stations all up and down the line, is who you are and what you do. And you're a county commissioner, but keep going from there.
Yeah, I'm a county commissioner. I'm a lifetime resident of Arnold County and played college football at Florida State for Coach Bowden, and great experience. And I've been in law enforcement, retired after 30 years or more, and 32 years really, and small business owner. My wife is a principal for the Iowa Statewide system. We have 5 kids, and small business owner. Just happy to live here. This is the best county in the country, I tell everybody. And I'm the longest serving commissioner, active commissioner on the county commission now. Have a good board I serve with. Yep, I'm the senior commissioner. I think Scotty's older by age, He says he's the senior commissioner by age, but I'm the longest by tenure at the county right now. But we all work together. It's a team effort, And
so what always asks me, because I know ahead of time, because Gene briefed me a little bit, is that we're going to talk about elections. But you ran for office for many years.
Yeah.
And finally made it. So persistence pays, the patience of Job.
Is.
But what I want to know is why. One, why did you run? But then 2, kind of generally, what makes people want to run for office?
One of my favorite poems that I've ever had is, The Arena, and it talks about, getting in the arena, getting bloodied, and I've always heard people compare it like this. You can be a decision maker or decision taker. You can lead, follow, or get out of the way, but you better trust who you follow if you're going to follow. And that was one of the things Coach Bowden used to say. You There's nothing wrong with any of those positions. There's a whole lot of people that make the world go round and businesses operate that's in the shadows. But what makes people successful is the people behind them. So if you can raise the tide and all boats rise and all those successful things, I think you come in and try to leave things better than they were when you got there. But I think that I got involved because um, I felt like I brought a different perspective, at that time, more of a blue collar perspective to
Mhm.
politics. And, you know, I've always tried to do what's best for the people. And, sometimes you got to break things before you can fix them. And that's not always popular. When you've got stuff nationally now,
Mm.
just the people that, I put something on Facebook the other day that talked about just because we disagree doesn't mean I hate you.
Yes.
We've got to get back to a point in our country to where we can agree to disagree. It should not be partisan, in my opinion. If you want to put God first, you don't. If you want to make private decisions, I don't impose my beliefs on you, and I don't want you to do that to me.
Mm.
But I think living in a constitutional republic as we have, people live in a country where they're allowed to protest, but it should be peaceful. We all know that some of the proclaimed peaceful rioting, I call it, or protests, have not been peaceful.
Not at all.
And that's not partisan. Common sense, you can see what you see, and it's not AI, it's not fake news. Um, in my opinion, it should not be partisan to secure the border, be proud to be an American. We're still the best country in the world, even though we're not perfect.
Mm.
And if you don't learn from our mistakes, we're going to repeat them in the future. And I think I bring to the table, hopefully, when I talk to people, I give them the who and whys and wheres. And my favorite saying is, before you judge our actions, ask us our options. And I think a fair person in life would realize we all judge people sometimes for appearance and other things, but we're not in their shoes. We don't know their options. We don't know their circumstances. And I think if we all, as better people, take that in consideration before we judge somebody based on what we see and do, we don't know their circumstances.
Mm.
So getting people involved in politics, as I did years ago, um, because I wanted to be involved, I wanted to be a decision maker. And so I've tried to give people all the perspectives that we have all the time. Our management gets mad at me sometimes, but when they make recommendations to us about things, I want to know how they made the sausage. I want to know why you're recommending this over the other options and what are all of our options. Because a lot of our citizens want to know why we're doing what we're doing.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of it's mandated. The school systems, a lot of it's mandated. Their financial situations, at least for Iowa Statesville, they don't have taxing authority like Mooresville has.
Right.
So what makes us a top 5 county in North Carolina on most categories is because we've been able to be successful at balanced growth. You always want our industrial commercial growth to outpace our residential growth. That helps keep our property taxes low. In Iowa County, over 50% of our sales tax comes in off the interstate. That's not coming from Iowa County citizens. So I've always made the point that the sales tax is the fairest tax because over 50% of it is coming from people traveling our interstates because we have a whole lot of assets with interstates, the lake,
Oh, yeah.
the diversity. We're a top ag county in the state.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of people that come here from other states and live in Mooresville, they know nothing about our history and agriculture and all those things. So we just try to brag. I told people the other night we had a vote on a rezoning for solar.
Mm-hmm.
And so I pride myself in trying to point out the pros and cons of both sides. And we always want to support our citizens' property rights and all those things. But we have a 2045 or we have zoning rules and rights and things to try and protect the neighbors from, unfair, unwarranted, things that people do. And, like the other night, the solar, I represent over 2 million people on the NCACC. So I have 8 counties in North Carolina that I represent, that
Mm-hmm.
I'm elected by county commissioners from those 8 counties to represent them on the NCACC, the North Carolina Association of County Commissioners.
Mm-hmm.
So the reason I think I've been elected historically to 4 terms on that board, because people know I'll tell them the truth. They'll know I'll advocate from a regional basis. I serve with Steve Johnson and those guys on the airport commission. That is a great jewel and asset for our business and industry to be able to fly in and fly out for CEOs and race teams and other things. There's so many things our citizens don't really realize that we have that are wonderful assets.
Mm.
I call it opportunities. Some people call it problems because with growth, you've got opportunities or problems, whatever it's like every day you hear people say, I got to go to work. Say, I get to go to work. There's some people that would love to have your job. It's all about perspective, I think, and outlook.
Well,
I
you
used to tell
have,
my kids all the time, or kids I coached, something that you can take in life all through life, no matter what you do, is attitude and effort is on us. Cost you no money.
that's right.
Your attitude and your effort into anything you're doing is on you. And if you have the right attitude and effort, whether it's your job, sports, marriage, whatever, I think that sets you up to be successful.
And that's a great attitude to have. That's something that most of the time takes time to learn. It
Yeah,
takes time to let that filter in and be part of your soul and the
right.
way you operate. Unfortunately, speaking of county commissioners, the big story was Caldwell County,
Hmm.
and commissioners get into a fist fight
Hmm.
just before their meeting, and that makes headlines. Boy,
Sure.
they just eat
Negative news
they
is
just eat that up.
the online sources get clicks and views, and the newspaper people sell newspapers
That's exactly
because
right. So,
it's like the old show that used to be successful, Jerry Springer.
oh
They wanted to
yes,
watch people act like fools. They want to go air their dirty laundry. You know all those
oh
things.
yeah,
But
yeah,
my job as elected official, I represent over 2 million people,
yeah,
and I represent in Iowa County over 200,000 people.
yeah.
We always at different times disagree. We fuss with Vickie and Jeff and Todd and others before them and after them and former county commissioners and things. But to me, you have a responsibility to conduct yourself in a certain manner that the 200,000 people that you represent, well, they voted for you, would not be ashamed of.
And carrying that through, if another county commissioner uh, comes up and says you are dead wrong on that,
Mhm.
you should do this, 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 and
Right.
this. It's his responsibility first. I say his. I'm just me.
His or her.
It is like to present their case to you
Sure.
in a calm, cool manner, and not get in your face and try to get you. On the other hand, have the responsibility to say, okay, I understand.
Right.
I heard what you say. I
Mhm.
listened to what you
Sure.
said. Now here's why.
And
And
we
you go
did
back
that
and forth.
the other night. We were very complimentary of our citizens that came to the meeting the other night.
Hmm.
We had a packed house. We wish it was that way every meeting.
I know.
But you had people that were, for the most part, respectful to each other about opposing opinions.
Hmm.
The one side did a whole lot of due diligence to come to present pros and cons of that situation. The other side had people come from Raleigh and all over that support solar and why solar is reliable and safe and all these things. But me sitting there taking notes in real time, I think with my experience and my law enforcement background, I kind of went back as a summation at the end and I responded to some of the things that we're saying. We turned down the vote. We didn't think it was consistent with our 2045.
Hmm.
That's really all we have to look at is that.
And the
But
2045, just
the,
for folks,
the
2045 is a plan you
that's the
have.
template that
Right.
people spent a long time on, citizens and business and industry leaders, to look at things, because you want to have a plan and a template.
Right.
Sometimes we can pick and deviate from that, but it's typically because it's still consistent with what's in the area and what your goal was for the template.
So, and you touched on this a little bit, and I keep on that, and I don't mean to break your train of thought,
Right.
but you mentioned that in this particular thing, folks. This is, I know folks are listening in other counties, but uh, there was a patch of land in northern Iredell County, and they wanted to use part of it to
They wanted
make
to rezone it
rezone it to put a solar farm there,
on about 40 acres.
right? And so what you have here is what uh, Councilman Gene was saying is, or Commissioner Gene was saying, is you've got people who own that property, private individuals who own that property, and they should be able to do what they want to do with their property
within reason.
versus what's good for the community.
Right.
So, and I've always wondered about that.
Mhm.
Somebody does something, and I'll say, why don't you think about the community?
One of the hardest decisions, one of the hardest decisions that we make is trying to dictate to people or regulate, you know, private property and things that people want to do, and that those kind of things. We don't lose our right to having a personal opinion about things, but typically, I think our job is, I tell people, don't shoot the messenger.
Mm.
My job is to tell you the who, when, whys, and wheres, and what my options were. But to that point, the people came, they were prepared. We voted 5-0 to reject their request for rezoning
Hmm.
because we don't think it fit the area, and was within the 2045. But during the summation, the people that came and spoke, a lot of people don't realize the power companies are regulated by
Yes.
legislation to try to have a certain portion
Yes.
of their power sources of alternate means, solar, fusion, whatever. And so, typically, if the government mandates it, they should pay for it. Well, I meant, people talked about the solar being safe, reliable, all those things. Great. The other people had a different opinion about safety and different things. I've seen in my tenure in discussions about I've got a picture of it, of where you could put solar over huge parking lots.
Mm.
Then you would have a roof over the cars for rain, whatever.
Hmm.
You could put them on rooftops. But to me, what makes more sense is put the solar over parking lots and things. You're not taking viable agricultural land or any other land off the books or out of use for agricultural purposes. I think we as a society have to look at alternative means of power and things, but there's a better way, in my view, to put them in things that are not going, that's already there. You're already using it. It has a benefit to every citizen. It's a roof, it's shade, it's whatever over a parking lot, and those type things.
Right.
It's a discussion, it's a conversation, right? But people talked about that, and then one of the people there representing the applicants had said, the people didn't have a right to come the other night and tell the owners of the property, the applicants, and what they could do on their property.
Mm.
And I took a little bit of offense to that. And I said, they do have a right to do that because their tax dollars are paying for it. Because the solar is subsidized by the state or federal government. And I said, the bankers were there, the people from Raleigh, all these people that are in favor of it, which is great, but they benefit from the subsidies directly. That's why they're there advocating for it, because I even mentioned, you talked about these things, but not one person mentioned profitability, sustainability on its own. And when I run my business, we ran off of our money, loans you paid back with customer money.
Hmm.
I didn't have government subsidies, or typically if you got something, it was a government loan,
Right.
right? So I don't blame any of them for their positions. I tell people all the time, politics and life is like a GPS. You put an address in, it gives you 3 options. None of them are wrong. They're different. Me and you may have, an idea of what to do. We just got to sit down and be smart enough to figure out where we're going to start. If it doesn't work, change it, deviate from it.
Mhm.
What I see is the redundancy in politics and government over the years. They'll keep throwing good money over a bad idea because they're afraid to try something different. Because if it doesn't work, somebody's going to get the blame for it.
Oh yeah.
Right?
That's it.
Everybody wants credit for success, but nobody wants the blame. But to me, if you already have something that needs improved upon, or something that's not working, and you try it, you're no worse off than where you were, hopefully.
Mm.
And then you can deviate again. Just because we've done it for 20 or 30 or 40 years doesn't mean today it's the best way to continue doing it.
Exactly. Right.
So, those are the type things that we talk about in the political arena and talk to our citizens about.
Right.
So people
if,
are busy,
oh, big time.
and so it's an honor for me to be in my 5th term, because I think people realize, when they call you, whether they're for or against something, I try to answer the phone, call them back, take their emails, respond, whatever. And Steve Johnson has said for many, many years, it's an asset to be accessible and it's a burden to be accessible
That's for
because the
sure.
people that typically don't respond don't get in trouble because
Right,
nobody ever knows where they are
right,
other than a vote, right?
right, right.
And so I would rather tell people the other night where I'm at and why,
hmm
you know.
And
And
then that's good. Now, I was going to say, if anybody wants to call and comment, 704-873-9929, 704-873-9929. Or, of course, you can leave comments as Brother Jesse has here on the Facebook or the YouTube. And we'll be glad to answer any questions that possibly can. Uh, Before we go into the next half hour, though, I was going to ask for uh, for any council member or commissioner that is listening. Uh, you watch the federal government.
mhm,
You watch because it's on all the time, and
yeah,
that's the big thing now is
the
watching the.
procedural um, quicksand and
Yes.
all of the stuff. The citizens
So
of the country are so frustrated with the processes.
that's right, and so uh, there's a biblical saying that you're either hot or you're cold. That's fine. But if you're riding the fence or I'll spew you out of my mouth, is what the Lord
Yeah,
said. And so here's the thing with politicians, and they have a bad reputation of taking both sides. They'll come up to one person and say, "Oh, I'm all for this, this, this." Then they'll turn right around to the next person and say, "Oh, I'm for you. I exactly what I do." So for those that are listening here that may be in public service, how do you do that? How do you don't want to make your constituents mad? They won't vote for you again next time.
yep.
So
Well, what you got to do is you
is
got
it
to.
better to do that or just say, "Hey, listen, this is the way it is. This is the
I
truth."
think one, you do what's right first. I talked to Representative Carver, and some of the training and things they do in Raleigh, and I hope I don't get it backwards, but first you have to, in any decision you make, you have to make sure it's you're okay with that, with your values and morals, and then you have to say what's best for my citizens,
hmm
and then you look at it and see um, my family or other things beyond that. I'm sure I got it, some of it maybe out of order, but the bottom line is this: the circus you see on the federal level and sometimes on the state level, you have to remember who sent you where you are. I have to have two people to vote with me to have a majority on my board. The state legislature and senator and in Washington and Raleigh, you see the numbers all the time.
hmm
Everything's close. The country's pretty split. 213, 216, whatever. And it's pretty close. We have a whole lot of citizenry now that's kind of sitting in the middle between a right and left extreme. And there's the middle. Okay. So I think you have to try to govern for what's best for the majority. Right now, I think the majority of the country, for the most part, are toward the middle.
mm
And the process is they're so frustrated. We see people going filibuster, and I'm going to say a waste of time for hours and hours and hours procedurally before they can vote something.
mm
Go in there and do a clean CR and vote about a zoning approval without all kinds of pork barrel and other funding on the back that benefits somebody's home precinct, district, whatever. The American people, whether you're Republican or Democrat that I talk to, are so frustrated with the processes. The system is broke to them. They think the elected officials are doing what's best for them. You see all the time people talk about they go into politics with blue collar background and they come out multimillionaires. How does that happen in politics? It ain't the pay for politics.
mm.
So to me, that's a problem. I think it's a fair question that you go in and how are you making money? They criticize somebody that ran and he didn't take a salary and his company and his net worth is less. He's putting America first. I get that they don't like him. And
Mm.
for example, I can post stuff on Facebook that Barack Obama and Clinton and Bush and everybody before him,
Mm.
uh, Biden, all these people, you see the stuff where they're saying the same thing about
Oh, yeah.
securing the border, putting
Yep.
America first,
Yep.
cutting out waste, fraud, and abuse,
Yep.
all those things.
Yep.
And nobody criticized them for saying that.
Mm-hmm.
But it's the end of the world now with Trump in office to a lot of people. You got to get real. I mean, the American people elected him, respect it. We won't get into the nasty politics other than to say there's nothing wrong with supporting your family before you try to help my family, right? We ought to put America first. When we advocate for defense spending and all these other things, we've been the police of the world for many, many, many decades. People should pay their fair share, whether it's NATO, military stuff, whatever. And we should not have American citizens on the street. We should have a pathway for citizenship. We need the workforces, all those things. There's common ground both sides can come to if you have a conversation, but they can't have a civil conversation right now.
They just blow up at each
Just
other.
blow up and you're disagreeing on, in some of these cases, they're so extreme away from the reality, right? And you want to get rid of the countries that are sending people here that are violent people. You have to have that conversation. Every Democrat and Republican elected president in the past, and people have all agreed that makes sense. You got people that don't agree with guns, or you got people that don't agree with fencing, but they want people to come into these sanctuary cities, but they don't want them in their neighborhoods. That's been proven by examples of people going places and then they want them out. You go to cities and you see people, they can't walk down the street. You got homeless tents and homeless people and all these things on the street. It's unsafe. It's dirty. And that doesn't mean America can't be compassionate, right? But we've got to use our brain. We can't provide services, unlimited services for the world at the detriment and jeopardy of our own citizens. You've got people that are not able to get government programming because the programs are going to run out of money. You've got people receiving benefits that never paid in for the benefits. To me, that shouldn't be partisan, Billy.
That's just
It's just
common
it's
sense.
common sense. You can't run your business and take care of your family if I take every bit of money you have and give it to somebody that didn't earn it and work for it. They talk about, when I was a housing officer one time, one of the best programs I ever saw was an in, up, and out program.
What's that mean?
They helped you in when you needed help. They tried to help build you up and help you get a job and get a means to get out and provide for yourself and your family. But you've got so many people that society has made it to where there's never been a desire for some to get up and out. They go in and want to just be taken care of. And why would you blame them, right? If somebody's going to promise you something, if you vote for me, I'm going to make your life easier, pay off debt for education, all these other things. There's a whole lot of people that would have went to college if they knew they didn't have to pay the debt back.
Right.
I'd love to see all of our kids have to go in the military and you pay for education for every year you serve in the military. Or you have people coming here, in my opinion, that want a path for citizenship. You work here, pay taxes for so many years, and you earn your citizenship. Come in with a work visa, though. Come in right, legally. Join our military and serve, and then you become a citizen after your service to the country.
Right.
We got to have common sense conversations. Right?
Okay. Well, we got to take a break here, and when we come back just a little bit, we'll talk about
the elections,
electing
and
those
who's
people.
filed, and the importance of people doing their homework.
There you are.
We all want more for North Carolina. More boundless views, more adventures in the outdoors, and more clean roads to get there. But to get more, we have to do less. Less littering, that is. Make it your nature to trash your trash and keep NC clean. And we'll all have more reasons to love North Carolina. Litter less, get more. For more on the 7 outdoor NC Leave No Trace principles, visit OutdoorNC.com. Sponsored by the North Carolina Association of Broadcasters and Visit North Carolina, a part of the Economic Development Partnership of North Carolina in cooperation with this station.
We all have something or someone to protect. If you see behavior that you believe is suspicious, speak up to local authorities. If you see something, say something. Your tip could help save a life. Learn more at dhs.gov/csay.
We all play a role in keeping our community safe.
Every day, we move in and out of each other's busy lives. It's easy to take for granted all the little moments that make up our everyday.
Some are good, others not so much.
But that's life.
It's when something doesn't seem quite right that it's time to pay attention.
Because only you know what's not supposed to be in your everyday.
So protect your everyday.
If you see something suspicious, say something to local authorities.
Bravo, Brenda. You've always been a saver. Price matching your price matches. The self-proclaimed queen of extreme couponing. But this time, you've truly outdone yourself. By saving for this electric vehicle, you're locking in up to $1,000 a year in fuel and maintenance savings, which will leave you saying, cha-ching, every time you unplug. Good for your wallet, great for the planet. That's the power of EV. Sponsored by the NC Clean Energy Technology Center and the North Carolina Association of Broadcasters in cooperation with the station.
We all want more for North Carolina. More boundless views, more adventures in the outdoors, and more clean roads to get there. But to get more, we have to do less. Less littering, that is. Make it your nature to trash your trash and keep NC clean. And we'll all have more reasons to love North Carolina. Litter less, get more. For more on the 7 outdoor NC Leave No Trace principles, visit OutdoorNC.com. Sponsored by the North Carolina Association of Broadcasters and Visit North Carolina, a part of the Economic Development Partnership of North Carolina in cooperation with this station. We all want more for North Carolina. More boundless views, more adventures in the outdoors, and more clean roads to get there. But to get more, we have to do less. Less littering, that is. Make it your nature to trash your trash and keep NC clean. And we'll all have more reasons to love North Carolina. Litter less, get more. For more on the 7 outdoor NC Leave No Trace principles, visit OutdoorNC.com. Sponsored by the North Carolina Association of Broadcasters and Visit North Carolina, a part of the Economic Development Partnership of North Carolina in cooperation with this station.
All right, We're Just Saying is the name of the program, and it normally would be Vickie Sawyer, North Carolina Senator Vickie Sawyer, and her co-host David Coble. But apparently they're doing something that may be important. I don't know what it would be.
Quality time with that family.
That's right.
I don't blame them.
And so, what time last night did she call you?
It was yesterday sometime.
Oh, okay.
You know, and then she promised to provide me a beverage of my choice for, because I asked her, I said, what does it pay? Right. You know? And we always banter back and forth. And so being the good politician that I am,
yes,
I have to put my own spin on it. So I always say that, she has to send Darren or I or somebody when the ratings get low, because people tune in when we're here because we're talking about really good, relevant, important things to our local constituents, But she does a great job, and David, people enjoy the opportunity to hear directly from us. I think I'd love to see when we run for office. It's always disappointing, you have a forum where you have something, and you have more candidates or their families there than citizens. So
that's true.
Talking about the elections this year for the municipalities and all.
Yeah. Well, before you do that. Once again, you can call 704-873-9929. And in particular, Commissioner Gene Haupt is filling in, but going to talk mainly because that's where we are. So but this all these things kind of carry through to all the counties that we're talking to is some of the facts and figures that Gene will bring to you about the elections. And here in Iredell County, things have changed with the election process.
Mm-hmm.
So that might be a little confusing to some people, but this, you're just educating me on this, is some people call this an off year election.
Because it's, typically they look at presidential elections as your every 4-year even years.
Right.
And then they call the midterms in between that the midterms. Congress runs every 2 years except Senate. And then you're like we used to, until we changed it by the people voted to do that. Yeah. We always had a third candidate as a commissioner got a 2-year term and the top 2 got a 4-year. Well, we changed ours to where it's a 4-year term.
No
3
matter
run
what?
one time and 2 run the next time.
Okay.
So, but like Davidson, for example, a lot of places have all of their people running at one time. So you have the potential to have all new people there, which in my opinion could be disastrous because like in the municipal election this year for Statesville, I was talking to Councilman Steve Johnson.
Mm-hmm.
You know, Statesville is going to lose over 100 years of elected experience that are not running for reelection. You know, Jap Johnson, I think if is 36 years, Costy's 36, if I'm correct. Steve is over 30 years, county commission and city council.
Right.
Joe Hudson will leave with 4 years. And then you've got in Troutman, Paul Hinkle is not running and he was experienced. And you've got in various other places that if you've got an incumbent not running, you're still losing experience. And I tell people all the time where that's important is, you know, you've got people that understand where they've been, they have goals of where they want to go, and they've figured out pathways forward. Well, you get a majority in on any board that has a different mission. If your mission and vision is not in line with your new people,
Mm-hmm.
that's why I think these municipal elections for this year are going to be the more important elections, I think, than people have seen specifically for Statesville in
Quite some time.
decades.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And it doesn't, and that's not a slight on any of the people running, because they bring to the table a variety of experiences from business to whatever. But you've got the potential, like I said, they don't have the elected experience that they can learn, but it's an acclimation period. You have to get on
There
because
is.
government definitely does not operate like the private sector. You get frustrated as elected official because the time it takes to get something done. You and I in business can make a decision today and implement it tomorrow.
Right.
But government is, you know, typically they got to come up with some kind of commission or people to study something. You know it's broke, make a decision to fix it.
Mm-hmm.
There's so many things people are frustrated about. The nastiness you and I were talking about the decorum of people, whether that be elected officials themselves or the citizenry. You know, in my lifetime, I never thought I would see the type of protest, the villainization of teachers and police and military and, you know, first responders and things that used to be the communities and their kids. They idolized those people because they were vital parts of our society that are very important to training our workforces and all kinds of things, right?
Right.
Most people go into all of those vital professions, typically not for the money, because it's not like you're going to get rich and have all kinds of disposable income if you go into those careers. What we've got to do is get back to a different decorum. You know, I tell people to get in the arena, you know, run for office, get involved, be a decision maker. But the people that's not going to run for office, you need to be involved enough. And like now, the people that file for these offices, the citizens need to do their homework
Yes.
more so than ever.
Yes.
Talk to, educate, have meetings, forums, whatever. Ask the people the hard questions on, you know, like the city race is supposedly nonpartisan.
That's right.
There's no such thing.
No.
You know, a lot of people will get for an election like this will move from one side or the other to the middle because they're trying to hide to some voters maybe where they have been in the past, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I tell people, you know, ask people the legitimate questions. What do you think about, like in states? Well, let's use that for the municipal stuff. You know, what do you
Right.
think about what the priorities ought to be? I had a citizen text, you know, what's more important in our cities right now, building new homes and commercial space or rehabbing and expanding existing homes and storefronts?
Mm-hmm.
Everybody typically wants new,
Oh, yeah.
you know, but I think we have to have a combination and of both, right?
Right.
And I think, you know, when you're running for these elections, you look at people's backgrounds and, you know, what do they bring to the table? Because they're going to be making decisions for you, whether about your taxes, your police, fire, trash pickup, you know,
All that
whatever they
stuff,
provide.
right.
Like the county, we have 26 county departments that we are responsible for. We
Mhm.
help fund 3 educational entities.
We have a, oh, no, it just went out. Okay. I thought it said we had a
Okay.
phone call, but go ahead.
Yeah, it's going to be important for people to get their sample ballots. And, you know, like, for example, the early voting starts in the municipal elections on October 16th as of now,
Mm-hmm.
unless something changes,
Right.
through November 1st. It ends at 3 o'clock on November 1st. Election day is November 4th. from 6:30 a.m. to 7:30 p.m.
Correct.
I mentioned before, and you mentioned that there's going to be some changes in the processes. Like, for example, in 2025, the Statesville Council at Large candidate receiving the highest number of votes will receive a 4-year term, and the candidate with 2-year or the second highest number of votes will receive a 2-year term. That's
And-
different because they both typically got a 4-year term.
Right. And there's no runoff.
No runoff. And it says here,
It is what it is.
the photo ID is required for 2025 elections,
Mhm.
but Karen and Susie wanted me to remind everybody they will provide you free from the Board of Elections an ID. You've got time now before the October 16th early voting starts to go get a free ID if you don't have the money to pay for it. Just go by there. They'll help you. The IDs are free, provided by the Board of Elections. And the town of Mooresville and the city of Statesville have changed simple plurality, to your point, is there's no primary, or runoff elections, and the candidate with the most votes wins. So if you've got
Period.
2 positions out of, let's say, at large, and the top person gets a 4-year term, the second person gets a 2-year term. But like I said, the city of Statesville, you're losing over 100 years of elected experience, at least, that knows where they've been, where they want to go. And, when you run for municipalities, their primary functions, they deal with water, sewer, roads, and things as a commissioner, don't deal with. We deal
Right.
with schools and things typically.
Right.
But if you look at in Mooresville, the early voting site will be the War Memorial,
Correct.
and it'll be Stockton Street in Statesville.
Mm-hmm.
But let's say the town of Davidson Board of Commissioners right now, and the filing closes at 12, so there may be some changes from what I have.
Right.
But as of the time I left this morning with this copy, the town of Davidson mayor has only got the incumbent run or Russell Knox running. The town of Davidson has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 people running. The town of Mooresville mayor at that point has 2 people running, with Chris Carney being the incumbent.
Mm-hmm.
The town of Mooresville commissioner at large, Gary West, is the incumbent, and he's got 2 challengers for 1 position. The town of Mooresville commissioner Ward 3, Tommy DeWeese is the incumbent. Frank Owens is challenging him. And I don't know if there's been anybody else. Lisa Qualls is the incumbent in Ward 4. She has 2 challengers as of the time I had this morning. The city of Statesville for mayor, there was a lady there following this morning when I was there, but you have William Morgan, Kevin Head, Doug Hendricks, Brian Summers, Kimberly Wasson, who is right now an at-large member at Statesville.
Yes.
And you have Rosetta Williams that was filing this morning. So you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 people that will be splitting the vote for mayor in the city of Statesville. And the citizens really need to look at who the people are, their backgrounds, the mission and vision and direction they want their city to go to.
That's right.
And look at it. And I think they need to really educate themselves.
And you can find out a lot of these. I don't know about Miss Williams because it just came on, but most of the others, if you go to their Facebook page,
Yep.
some maybe even have a website, but
Mhm.
most of the Facebook page, they put their, I guess, press release, or they put
Press release,
their
yeah.
information about
Right.
what they stand for.
And Mike has put most of them so far on the free news as well.
Oh, okay.
But you also need to have your chamberses and other people, in my opinion, get involved and do some meet and greets or some forums or things where people can come in and find out.
Exactly.
You need to be able to have people tell you where they are on important issues.
That's right.
Don't assume anything. And at large city of Statesville, you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 people running for 2 positions. City of Statesville Council Ward 2, at the time I got this, Christy Pfeiffer was running. That is Doug Madison, former county commissioner's daughter.
Right.
And Jap Johnson, 36-year veteran, is not rerunning there. And Steve and Costi and those others I told you, that 30 or 36 years, those 2, over 100 years.
Yeah.
I know that John Stafford filed today for Ward 5. He used to be Ward 5 before the
other election.
before Joe
right.
was there, and Joe's not rerunning. So you got Tip Nicholson and Alex Walker running, and John Stafford running for Ward 5. Alice Doris Allison and Ruth Karina Ayub.
I believe.
I hope I didn't
Mess
make that.
that
But
up,
anyway,
but
there's
that's
two
close.
people running as of the time I got this for Ward 3.
Right.
Ward 5, Tip Nicholson, Alex Walker, John Stafford. The town of Troutman, you've got 1, 2, 3, 4 people running for the town of Troutman. The Mooresville Graded District right now, you had 2 people that have filed at the time I did this. And so the biggest thing takeaway today for me is you've got a lot of people running. The potential, you've got a lot of incumbents that are not running again, and some people will celebrate that maybe. But the challenge to that is people need to really educate themselves, and I don't mean that as a slight on anybody running, because I've run, I've lost before I won. Okay,
Yes.
so you're offering yourself for service. So people don't attack people for things that are not relevant. Have an objective conversation with people. Ask them what is their vision and mission and vision for the city. What would you do if you had been on somewhere? It's hard to second guess elected officials that were there before me, because I don't always know the options they had. My
Right.
favorite saying, right?
Right.
I think what you do is you come in, you look at where you are today, and if your goal is to make the place better than it is today when you get there, people need to have us bring in jobs and opportunities and make good decisions about our spending, serve them as efficiently as possible, and tell them our challenges that we have. I try to tell people all the time, before you judge my actions, ask me my options. But I got to tell you that we have to do a better job communicating that to the public. The public has a responsibility, in my view, to go online. Our meetings are online live. Their meetings are online live,
Yeah.
or you can go back and watch it later, get copies and transcripts of the meetings, find out who's voting how and why they voted the way they voted.
Should a candidate run for office because of a particular problem they have? In other words, I don't like.
That can always be a motivation.
Yeah.
But to me,
But once they
the
get
voters
there-
should not elect the person that's running with a narrow vendetta or a specific,
Vendetta is a good word.
let's say a
That's right.
specific gripe.
Right.
Okay, maybe not a vendetta.
Right.
That can motivate you to want to get into politics, but you should run to fix all the issues. If you try to get there just to take care of what benefits you, particularly individually, you're doing it for the wrong reason.
Hmm.
You have to say, I'm going to go in and represent how many thousands of people I would be representing. Even though a lot of these people are elected in a ward, they represent everybody in the city.
Sure.
The county commissioners are at large. I've always said I wish the elections, particularly, were at large. Even though people are elected by ward, that person can't fix your problems in your ward without so many other votes for a majority. Right?
That was the thing with Iredell County. That may not be with McDowell or Rutherford or Buncombe that we're talking to, but Iredell County is a long county, and the south is.
It's a diverse county.
It's a very diverse county. The
Right.
southern part of the county is the most heavily populated, just because of Charlotte.
Right.
The northern part of the county is more rural, and that's where most of our agriculture is.
Right.
And so what they worried about, since it's at large, is that you could have 3 or 4 of the commissioners be from the south end of the
Right.
county and only 1 or 2 from the north end of
Right.
the county. And that's not fair.
And we've had that in the past.
Yes, we have.
But if you've got people there that's making objective decisions that's best for the majority of the county, then, I've served with, there's been people on there before where there's been 3 from the south end or 2, or, right now, the further south person we have, I mean, Melissa has a place at the lake.
Right.
But Scotty, in Troutman.
Right.
But basically, it takes 3 of us to make something happen. You can have representation by ward or by area if you want to, but that's not the answer to your problem, because your problem is they've got to have 3 votes on my board or majority on their boards, so they can't individually fix your problem.
We have a question on the
Okay.
Facebook. Can you explain at large?
The at large means everybody in the city of Statesville for the city's race, or city of Mooresville, town of Mooresville, Troutman, everybody votes for the at-large people. But then if you live in a ward, then only the people that live within that ward votes for the ward. So if you live in the city of Statesville, you'll have 3 people typically to vote for the most part. You would have mayor that's citywide. You'll have at large citywide, and then if you live in a ward that has somebody running for reelection or election, you'll vote in that ward also. And so that's what at large is. They're running at large, and everybody in the city can vote for them, which is
And-
mayor and the 2 at large seats.
Right. And you mentioned the county, and in our particular case, all the county is at large.
All
So
the county commissioners are
no,
elected at large.
no matter
No
where,
matter where you live.
they're for
You represent, no matter what you do, I represent 205,000, 210,000 people, no matter what, whether if it was a district or ward
Mhm.
or county-wide.
Mhm.
I still have to do what's best for the majority.
Right.
But, you talk about people from Iredell, whether that's state or federal.
Mhm.
The people from Iredell County or like Vickie's case, Iredell Mecklenburg, elect her. That should be the primary focus, and I think that is her primary focus. However, she has to, within reason, work with other colleagues around the state to help them get reasonable bills passed that benefit their constituents, to get them to work with her. Jeff Todd, the same way. But, if you're going to mandate me do something on a local level, send me the funding to do it. Whether that's school, class size, anything really, right? And I think the closer the decisions are made, we've had some controversial things in the term this year in the House and all, where they were wanting to take away local control of zoning and different things and make it a one size fits all state. Well, that's dangerous, because just like the other night, you had a solar thing that involved local stuff. If you had statewide policy or zoning that was statewide,
Mhm.
at some point you're going to really get in a pickle, because it's not good for everybody at the same way, right?
All right.
But I think, one thing I'll press upon, I want to say thank you to all of the people that are offering themselves for service. And I want to challenge everyone that lives in all of these cities and the county and whatever that can vote in these municipal elections to get involved, talk to the people, make them answer your questions, and make the question relevant to what their job is. Find out what decisions they make that impact you. Don't ask them about abortion and things that are national issues, which that can be important if somebody's looking at a partisan situation, but specifically, trash, police, fire in the city, streets, all the things that they would be over to help fund and regulate policy and ordinance for. They want to know their vision, because they
Yeah.
live in these towns or cities. And
Would you agree that just taking a wild thing, would you we talk about the national elections, the president, the vice president, and all that, but the people that really affect you in your everyday life are
or your
these,
elected official.
or your local
I say that
people.
all the time. The
Yeah.
people that impact you on a daily basis more than any other elected official in the country on a daily basis are your local elected officials.
Yep.
Because they're the people that's close, that you can contact, talk to. If you're in Raleigh and Washington, you're typically, you don't have people typically showing up at your office or calling you or seeing you in a restaurant or somewhere, unless you're home in your district,
Mm.
to ask you about things that are going on live. So I think it's more important than ever. It should always be important for people to vote. If you and I today told people they could not vote, they would fight me and you to go vote. But everybody has a right to go vote, but they're frustrated with maybe what's going on local, state, or federal. Your vote does count. You and I today told people this year, particularly in Statesville, the highest number of votes gets. One vote
Mm.
could
Yeah.
make a difference. So when you say my vote don't count, that's not true,
Mm.
because you got all these people running in some crowded races that's going to split and divide the votes. So some of these candidates could win by one vote.
That's true.
So, you've got to encourage a larger turnout, educate your voters, motivate young voters, but don't vote for somebody because your friend or your family member liked them. Look at what's best for the city
Mm.
or the town or wherever, and educate themselves. Don't let them come out with a fluff piece that I did this, this, and this. I'm an elected official. I get it. My job is to educate you, don't shoot the messenger.
Right.
But this year more than ever, I think the runoff 2 or 4 years ago, whatever it was, that Mr. Presley and Steve Johnson was in a runoff. And I think Steve won 1 or 2 votes, whatever it was at the end of the day. But it's very important for people to get out and vote and know where these people's backgrounds are, know where their political affiliations are. They may not particularly have a national vote for abortion and other things, but their stance on national issues could impact their local decisions.
That's true.
Okay. So that's why it's important. And you want to vote for people that align with your values and your beliefs, in my opinion. You're going to have some people that aren't Christians. If that's important to you, you need to understand who these people are.
Right.
Do they have the same values and expectations you have?
And maybe along those same lines, this is, I may be reaching for this one, but they have been showing over in England. The mayors of most of the big major cities in England have become Muslim, and so then a lot of the native Englanders are upset with that. But
they have nobody, in my opinion, they have nobody to blame but the voters.
Exactly.
Your citizens have to come out and take part in the election. Like I said, if you and I today said, if you don't vote, you don't get this, or this, right?
Right.
But because if we told them they couldn't vote, they'd fight us to get there. But the fact that they can vote, they don't vote, or they think their vote doesn't matter. I hate hearing that because people call me. I try to help everybody. I don't ask them, did you vote for me? I try to help them if I can help them.
Right.
Because if I didn't vote for them and I help them, they might vote for me next time. But that shouldn't be a prerequisite of whether I help them or not. My job is to do what's right and try to help them. But people better get involved. It's important to get involved, know who you're voting for, and hold them accountable if they're elected. That's one of the things that people amaze me every day. The people in the country voted for Donald Trump for what he said he was going to do, and he's doing or trying to do what he said he was going to do. They didn't like he didn't know he was going to do it. So the majority of American people believed in that vision and mission.
Right.
So like it or not, lead, follow, or get out of the way.
That's the way. That's
And
a
I
good
think,
place too.
and I think we're just saying today, but on behalf of Vickie, Sawyer, David, Coble, Billy, and I, have a wonderful weekend, blessed weekend. And we're going to end with God bless the USA.
That's all coming right up.
Say what you want.
Thank you for tuning in to We're Just Saying with Senator Vickie Sawyer and co-host David Coble. We appreciate your time and input as we discuss the issues shaping North Carolina. Stay informed, stay engaged, and we look forward to having you join us again next week for more updates and insightful conversations. Take care and keep participating in the conversation.
Real Country is 550 AM WAME, 92.9 W225BD, Statesville.
With SRN News, I'm Rich Thomason in